picturesque rock formations present a peaceful tapestry against which a dramatic struggle for survival takes place. Herds of wild horses grazing on the scant rangeland of Wyoming's Red Desert fight starvation and that predatory creature, man, ready at all times with the constricting rope and the confining corral. But struggle is also potential within the herd itself. Competition for leadership and for possession of the mares results in an epic battle which brings together two wild stallions in a contest for supremacy as old as the earth itself. A palomino and a black meet in deadly combat. Both stallions come from a long line of fighting ancestors, equine stalwarts toughened by years of ranging the wasteland. The palomino scores, but Blackie comes back with plenty of rear guard action. Whistling with rage, they spar for an opening. All is fair in this free-for-all, and slashing teeth rip tough hide, while a hidden nemesis peers from a camouflaged post. Now the palomino brings up the heavy gun. The battle is really joined. Command of the herd is at stake, and one or the other will rule supreme. Right now, Pal seems to have the upper hand. This is an encounter of champions. Jealousy stirs deep in their fighting hearts, and there'll be no quarter given and no end to the conflict short of victory. Blackie surrenders, and Pal trumpets his triumph. Proud is the palomino in his hour of victory. He reigns as king of the herd and sets off proudly for a secret rendezvous with the string of admiring mares in his train. But Frank Robbins, king of the wild horse wranglers, sets out for his camp. At the camp, deep in the wilds of the Red Desert, Robbins and his hands fortify themselves with some mouth-watering grub at the chuck wagon. Watermelon goes mighty well in this dry land, but there's an end to appetite, and with the coming of night, a touch of cowboy harmony before sleep. First steps in setting the trap, holes for railroad tie fence posts with sagebrush camouflage to deceive the wily Mustang, whose keen sense of smell and suspicious nature make him wary of man-made lures. Robbins watched wild horses all his life and learned to use a drag to make a trail, which the herd would follow to the entrance of the trap. A following horse is ridden in the track, leaving his hoof marks and scent to decoy the herd. Wild horses are pests on the open range, destroying fodder needed for beef cattle and for sheep. This is a roundup with a modern twist. Today's spurless cowhand mounts his Sky Wrangler, an aerial steed that can outrun the swiftest Mustang. Robbins and his pilots, who train horses for the saddle, for dude ranches, and for rodeos, have trapped more horses by plane than any of their competitors. His experienced flyer is wise in the ways of horseflesh, the ideal combination. Scanning the desert for a herd, the pilot circles father and son rocks and roams the limitless sky. This is one of man's newest roundup wrinkles, and one the wild stallion hasn't learned to combat. The pilot searches the desert wastes and in the depths of this rugged terrain locates a few strays from the main herd. Now starts the roundup. In this manner, the Sky Wrangler starts the strays moving, heading each batch towards a central point. The roundups net thousands of wild horses, descendants of the animals brought here in the 16th century by Cortez and De Soto. The Indians had no horses until the Spanish strays appeared on our plains around 1680. The strange four-footed animals frightened the Indians at first, but growing bolder and resentful of the encroaching white man, the Indians began raiding the corrals. Then runaway horses from both Spanish and Indian owners formed herds moving ever westward, the forerunners of today's wild groups, like these struggling to escape capture. The horses begin to bunch up, moving steadily towards the cut leading to the hidden corral. Our Sky Wrangler maneuvers with extreme care, never sweeping directly over their heads, scaring and scattering the string. The various small groups are entering the wings of the track, expertly nudged by the swooping plane to form a larger herd. The dreaded scent of man halts them momentarily. The pilot's task is almost finished as the driven herd in wild flight rushes headlong toward the corral and an end of freedom. With a handful of sand, Robbins tests wind direction, and the riders get ready to approach the herd from downwind, so they'll be undetected by the keen nostrils of the wild mustangs. And now it's the fleet cow pony that takes over from the Sky Wrangler and rides herd on the Red Desert Strays. Now begins the tedious and dangerous battle of man and horse against wild mustangs who have never before known the meaning of restraint. The Wranglers charge like wild Indians. The panic-stricken horses try madly to escape as the riders work them expertly into the first corral. Some make a desperate break, unwilling to give up the fight, the mad struggle that is their heritage. Turning madly in his tracks, one stallion breaks through the heavy cable of the fence. The nimble colts, fleet as deer, streak along with the captured herd. They're sturdy little animals, inheriting the strength developed by their parents in years of hard desert life. Sometimes the sure-footed animals tumble down a steep ledge as the reckless charge toward the corral continues, with the riders in hot pursuit. Another chapter in the desert conflict nears an end. The Wranglers close in on the wild mustangs, now safely in the corral. Life on the open range is over. The corral is built without corners, and the puzzled horses looking for an opening circle it vainly. In addition to the wooden corral, a natural wall of adobe is used to form part of the fencing. Unwilling to give up the struggle, the horses charge desperately up the crumbling slope. The adobe walls of the corral are impossible for a man to climb, but the nimble wild mustangs scale the sides like mountain goats. The futile attempt ends for some, and they resign themselves to the inevitable. The more stubborn ones continue to try for escape from man and his hated trap. It's a losing fight, and some of them realize it. But there are others. His pals witness his defeat. The action continues as the riders rope his legs. Roping a wild horse around the neck would strangle him during his frantic effort. Now, while the battle with man halts temporarily, the jealous stallions close in battle again, fighting for the mares who have become shuffled in the confusion of the roundup. Years of fierce conflict have left their mark. Sharp hooves and slashing teeth have ripped into thick horsehide, channeling deep scars for the wrecker. Ignoring their natural enemy, man, the contest goes on. They won't believe it, but no more will these pests to the rancher raid his herd and carry off his mares. The fighting stallions even forget the mares in their furious competition. But man is ever present and separates the herd for training. This new move puzzles the belligerent stallions. The boss wrangler is closing in on the bewildered animal. It takes two real huskies to ready this wild Mustang for the branding. Should a captured horse carry an existing brand, the owner is notified. Obsolete brands are canceled. Getting the iron hot enough to brand the tough hide is 15-year-old Billy, an expert wrangler. And the Robbins mark is registered. During the heat of the desert encounter, no colt is left to shift for himself. The youngsters, only a few weeks old and unable to forage for themselves, are either driven in with the herd or rounded up separately. Young Billy enters the fray. And man against wild Mustang, Billy can give the toughest customer cards and spades in a training bout. For one wild roughneck, the struggle ends. An easy canter starts this 3-year-old on the road to reform, from a renegade of the range to a useful, well-behaved ranch horse. That elegant seat is worth a cool 200 smackaroos. It's the grand prize in the Robbins rodeo, the next step on the Mustang's road to domestication. Let's all go along and take in the big show. See them ride 'em, cowboys. Yep, it's a holiday for ranchers and ranch hands alike. They're all out to see the fun. First, there's the delicate-like job of saddling the wild critters, willing to tackle anything since there are no other horses to fight. There comes a time when even a wrangler's patience gives out. But the untamed horse, like a stubborn lad, rebels against the hand of authority. Rough treatment seems to be the order of the day. This rider, easing himself on, with a pal's hand on his belt in case of emergency, knows what's ahead. But bronc riders are funny that way. They're bears for punishment. It's a roundup all over again as the hands head the bronc back to the round corral for unsaddling. Easy does it. And we're all set to ginger up another 1,000 pounds of quivering dynamite, eager to show the spectators the Red Desert version of the jive. But who's afraid? Oh, what you said. Bucking, raring, and sunfishing, and sometimes a combination of everything. It's all the same in this competition of tough bronc rider against tougher bronc. The judges have no trouble trying to pick a loser so far. The boys don't last long, but there's always another willing to pit his skill against these fighters from the wild herds. The freedom of the open range is no more. The great sweep of the western plains narrows to the meager limits of the saddling chute. But these as yet unconquered Mustangs betray no sign of surrender. One after another, the proud wild Mustangs fight the curbing rope, and the struggle for supremacy goes on. The long-continued struggle that began far back in the Pleistocene age, when their four-toed ancestors waged bitter war against each other and against the common enemy. Fighters to the last, they fling off the hand of authority, and with easy, rhythmic strides, seek vainly for the gates to freedom, gates which are closed to them forever.